Hare Krishna, my name is Premarupa Madhavi Devi Dasi. On behalf of the ISKCON Vaishnavi Ministry of North America, I am elated to invite each and every one of you to the interview series, A Bond of Love, Srila Prabhupada and his beloved daughters interview series. Today, we're so fortunate to have Mother Vimala Devi Dasi join us from across the pond, literally from all the way from Australia. Thank you so much for taking this time, Mother. Hare Krishna.
Just a quick, it's New Zealand.
Oh, New Zealand. Okay, yes.
I'm Australian, but it is New Zealand we're in.
Thank you for correcting me, Jai. Mother Vimala joined Krishna Consciousness with her husband, Jaya Sila in Melbourne, Australia in 1976. Her service started in Melbourne with packing incense at Spiritual Sky Warehouse, then moving into performing secretarial services. After their move to Auckland in the year 1980s, Mother Vimala was engaged in serving their Lordships, Sri Radha Giridhari, by dressing them and sewing Deity outfits. And then in the early 90s, after moving to Vrindavan, India, she began teaching at the International Gurukula for 5 years. After that, she returned to New Zealand, where Mother Vimala continued her Deity seva and also began teaching at the Hare Krishna School, which is situated at the Auckland Temple site. Mother Vimala and her husband have been married for 50 years this year and are currently giving seminars on varied aspects of Grihastha life. They have written a book on Vaishnava relationships called Sattvic Sangha, and be tuned to hear more about that. And they're in the process of writing their next book on effective ways to raise and nurture children in their Krishna consciousness, something we all need. And Mother Vimala posts regularly on her Facebook page called Devotee Care. So check that out. It provides ongoing education, guidance about the dynamics of successful devotee relationships from childhood to youth to old age and beyond. So without further ado, thank you so much for accepting this request and joining us on this Sangha of hearing from you.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Jai. Your write-up is so beautiful. Your like the sharing you've done in the book is so beautiful. So if any of you haven't read it, please go check out A Bond of Love book and check out Mother Vimala's excerpt on page 542. Maybe we can just dive right in and maybe you can share what is your favorite memory of Srila Prabhupada?
Yes, my favorite. I've got a few, but I didn't have much direct association with Srila Prabhupada. But I was there in '76. He initiated me, so I had that. What are the 4 regulative principles? I told him, and he gave me my name. And during that visit, he gave a special darshan upstairs in his room. And there's a couple of things in that darshan that I've never forgotten. One of them was quite unusual. He was actually telling us all to become gurus and to spread Krishna consciousness all through the world. And I'm thinking, I'm just a new devotee, and I'm thinking, does he mean me? Does he mean us? And I've meditated on that throughout the years, and I've realized we are all gurus. As a teacher, I'm a guru. As a mother, I'm a guru. So that's my kind of idea of what he meant. And during that darshan, another special thing happened that I've often meditated on. During the darshan one, at the end, Prabhupada was going to give out sweets. And one lady that used to come to the temple, she rushed up to Prabhupada with her little baby daughter. And the little daughter gave Prabhupada a rose. And the lady asked, could you please give my daughter a name, Prabhupada? And Prabhupada took the rose and then he said, her name is Rose. No, that's not Sanskrit. And then another mother that I knew quite well, and I used to look after her little daughter, she rushed up with her little daughter. Little daughter gave Prabhupada a flower and said, "Could you please give my daughter a name?" And Prabhupada looked at the little girl and then he said, "Her name is Pushpa," which also means flower. And so that's kind of an unusual memory. Yeah. So that, I would say, my favorite memories of Prabhupada, one of them, yeah, when he was there.
Thank you so much. It just again goes to show us that the guru here is right. Like you were like, that's not Sanskrit. Immediately he's like Pushpa. All Krishna Prabhupada.
Exactly. But that girl, I often wonder, where is Rose? Because she got a very special name that I've never heard before. Yeah.
What's your favorite quality of Srila Prabhupada?
I've thought about that too, and I would have to say Srila Prabhupada was direct. And that was something I didn't like in the beginning because I'm a very kind of sensitive, and I was very sentimental in the beginning. And so I didn't like that Prabhupada was so direct. But interestingly enough, that's what I've come to appreciate. That Prabhupada didn't mince words. He was very direct. He gave Shastra, he quoted references. He gave Shastra as it was. He didn't kind of sugarcoat it too much for us. And that has been actually very helpful for me, and it's what I needed. Yeah.
So powerful and so beautiful. Thank you. How did you observe Srila Prabhupada adjust to time, place, and circumstances? And that too in dealing with both devotees and non-devotees.
Well, I did notice, and I watch a lot of, my husband and I watch a lot of Prabhupada memories. And what I noticed, and in reading Bond of Love, is how Prabhupada treated us all as individuals. He treated us all differently. You can see that, like, his servants, like he had Hari Sori, and then he had Shrutakirti, and he would treat them differently according to their natures. And I've noticed that as a teacher. I have different kind of personalities of children. One child, you can say one word to them and that's it. They're so sensitive though, and another child might need a stronger little message, So Prabhupada knew that too. And especially with the ladies, I think he understood that ladies' nature and he treated them very gently. And that's what I've kind of come to notice and saw, that he knew that.
Thank you. You have so many wonderful qualities, starting with your spontaneity, the fact that you're a teacher, seamstress, and now an author also. So how do you feel Srila Prabhupada engaged you in service?
Well, that's a very important thing. I think that is what has helped me a lot in my spiritual life, being properly engaged. As a child, I wanted to be a teacher. That was all I wanted to do, right? And then my mother, in those days, this is back in the 60s, there were 5 kids, and she said, "I cannot afford to send you to university. You have to go and get a job." So I did. I went and got a job in a bank. That was my first job. But I never forgot that I wanted to be a teacher. But then when I became a devotee, somehow or other I got engaged in deity worship, and that really helped me. I loved doing the deity worship. I would think of Radha Giridhari all the time, how I would dream about designing their outfits, and that really engaged my mind. So that was very good. And then later on, when we went to India, all of a sudden I had no service. And Krishna arranged, one devotee said, "Do you want to help out at the school and the Gurukula?" And I said, "Yeah." So I took the kids out in the afternoons to the Goshala. That's how I started. And then they said, "Well, could you do this? And could you?" Before I knew it, I had my own class. And I wasn't a qualified teacher. And then when I came back to the West and in New Zealand, the school here needed teachers. And Prana Prabhu, he was my mentor. He's passed on now, wonderful devotee. He told me, "Vimala, go back to university. You're a teacher. get your degree. So at 47 years old, I went back to school, spent 3 years, got my degree as a teacher, and I've been teaching at Hare Krishna School ever since. So I think it's, like Urmila calls career dharma, it's having the right career that suits your nature. So now I'm kind of retiring because I just haven't got the energy to give to these little kids anymore. They need a younger energy. But I go in 1 day a week and teach at the school. And I'm actually teaching my little granddaughter. She's in my class. So it's really nice. And I love that connection with all the kids and with the teachers. And it's like my little community there.
Sure, they look forward to that one day or 1 hour that you engage with them. Thank you. I don't know if this is a good segue for you to share a little bit about the upcoming book that you and Prabhu have been writing on, bringing children up in Krishna consciousness and your journey as a mother. Like I was mentioning to you earlier when we met that one of my favorite lines from your excerpt in the book is how you said that like you made mistakes. That's so like, genuine of you to say that. I made many mistakes in bringing up my son and daughter, but by Krishna's kindness, they are devotees. How did you make that happen?
Well, they're my gurus, actually. My kids, my students, they're all my gurus. They've taught me along the way because, as I said, I made many mistakes, and you can learn from your mistakes. So one quality I would say I have is I reflect when something doesn't work. But back in the early days when our kids were born, and they are pioneers, right? I was very fanatical, totally fanatical. I didn't take into account their individuality. I did things that, I'll give you a little story that my son and I laugh about now, okay? He was 14, 15, and my daughter, Saraswati, she came to me one morning. She used to go in and wake him up. I'd send her and go and wake your brother up. And she came back and she said, Mum, he's listening to calming music. And I went, oh no. He had like a tape deck, and you could also put a switch on to the radio. So when I heard about that, a normal mother or a good mother would talk to your child, right? And go through it and come out with some kind of plan. I didn't. I went in there when he wasn't there. I put some super glue on that switch so he couldn't switch it on to the radio. And then the next morning I hear this almighty scream coming from his room like, Ma! And he was so angry at me. And we laugh about it now. I say, I'm so sorry. I should have talked to you. I should have understood, all those things. But we can laugh about it now. But at the time, that was my parenting, which was not a good example. So that's what I mean, like the fanaticism, instead of having a discussion, coming up with some kind of mutual plan, which I would advise parents to do, understanding what your child's going through. I didn't do any of that. So in the book that we're doing, we've started writing. It talks about all these things, practical ways to bring out the best in your child. They all need that. Instead of always correcting them, giving the energy at the right time. Not that you don't have boundaries. As a teacher and as a parent, you have to have boundaries. But often we give the energy when they're doing the wrong thing. Like your kid, all day, your kid is being good, and then you catch them doing one thing wrong, and you give all your energy, like your lectures when they're doing the wrong thing. Whereas you could be giving all your energy when they're on track, when they're on task. So with my grandchildren, that's the way I am now. And actually with my son and daughter now, I'm always giving them energy when I see all the great things they're doing. So yeah, I learned a lot of lessons. Yeah. And I think most parents can kind of identify and relate to what I'm saying. Yeah.
Super practical, right? Something we can, and it's something we also need, and we always feel, right? Like, my husband says it's a plain cloth, even my mom says, and one black spot, and that's all we'll focus on, that one black spot. They've been amazing all along, but no one's focusing on that, just that black spot.
Exactly. You got me. Instead of being the bee, we're like the fly, we're looking. And we're doing it, with the best of intentions. I was a, diligent mother with the best of intentions, but sometimes, we go a little bit too far with that.
Thank you for sharing. I think it's a nice maybe point to ask, like, do you believe that it's important for the next generation of devotees, not particularly Prabhupada disciples, to develop a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada? And if yes, why and how?
Yes, definitely. I think because he is our founder Acharya, and they have to be able to appreciate where we got our knowledge from. We got our mercy, we got our knowledge from. So I think if we skip over that, that's a very great mistake. And they want to know. During my classes at school, I love telling stories because children learn a lot through stories and songs. I do a lot of songs and stories. I've actually written a book, but it's not published yet, where I've taken all the what do you call it, nursery rhyme tunes that we learn as kids, and I've Krishnaized them. And the children love that because we remember them. We can't get them out of our head, right? So, and I love telling through stories. So I tell them all the stories of Prabhupada when he was little, when he was a little boy, and the Prabhupada was actually, he said himself, I was a naughty child. And a lot of the boys really identify with that, Everything Prabhupada said, everything I want, I must have. And even today, he said, I am like that when he was speaking. And that's actually all these qualities that sometimes we see as negative can be positive qualities. That determination you see in children, that intelligence, out of the box intelligence, that's often, it just needs to be channeled. It's a good quality. Yeah.
Very beautiful. You're amazing. Even the way you're just articulating all this, that I would urge our listeners to indulge me as I read this excerpt from the book. It's a preview of Sattvic Sangha, the book that Mother Vimala and her dear husband wrote, and this is the introduction. The birth of the relationship rescue remedy. It was around 2:30 a.m. one winter morning when the 5-drop rescue remedy was born. Of course, it didn't have that catchy title then. Actually, my husband and I were in the middle of a meltdown. Yes, you heard right. It was a meltdown at 2:30 a.m. in the morning. But what was worse was, or even dark funny, was that it happened in the middle of our first session of trying to write a book together about successful grihastha life. When I read this, me and my husband, we burst out laughing. And then it goes on to say how, you've been married for 50 years, or when you wrote the book, 40 years of practical life experience, and how why you're having this discussion at 2:30 in the morning is because you both woke up super early because you have this whole life of service and so forth and commitments and engagements. Well, you carved out that time, so you decide to wake up super early just to, serve all of us by giving that, practical lessons from your life. So everyone's so grateful. And how you came out of all that is, you realize that you sorted it out. You didn't just let that go, right? You sorted it out, and you're like, wow, this is an amazing formula. Let's teach this in our book. So, and it's so articulate. You've written it. It's like when I read it, I was like, I want to know what's next. What happened next? So thank you for being such an amazing author.
That's the secret. The secret is we've done a lot of coaching of couples. We don't call it counseling, we call it coaching. We coach them on our system. And what we've seen over and over again is if you can work through your conflicts, your upsets, right to the end and come back to that loving place, then you'll have a successful relationship. But what often happens is you don't want to face the conflict. So you smother it over. And I was expert at that. We say I was the suppressor. I like to suppress my feelings. And my husband is an expressor. So you can imagine how that went. And he used to drag it out of me. Okay, something's wrong. Sorry, my husband left his bag in here. I'll just give it to him. Oops.
Yeah, no issues. Take your time. They both are fantastic authors. Like this excerpt ends with them saying, consequently, on that fatefully chilly morning, our enthusiasm was diverted to working out the steps we used to solve all those upsets and conflicts over the years. We quickly discovered that the process, and it goes on.
Sorry about that. My husband left his phone.
No
and I had
issues.
to
Yeah.
shut it out the door to him. I turned mine off, but I didn't realize his was in here. So then you don't allow, if you sort out the difficulties right true to the end, then you don't allow resentment to build up. And resentment is a relationship killer. It really is. And then you wonder what happened to our relationship, that you've built up layer and layer of resentment from unresolved conflicts. And that on that morning, that's what we realized, that we always resolve our conflicts right to the end. And we develop ways of doing it less painfully, like me being the suppressor and my husband trying to drag it out. That was where the first drop, which is drop the flame, that you cannot discuss when you're in an angry mood. Have you ever tried to sort something else when you're both upset or one of you is upset? Doesn't work. So we had this first drop, which is drop the flame, which means allow things, give it time to settle. Don't brush it under the rug and think, oh, it's all right now, because that can seem to happen, but actually it builds up. But just realize we can't talk about this now. We just need a bit of time to get back to the proper mode. You can't resolve something in the mode of passion. So that's where that came from, the first drop. And then we went on with the five drops that we use till this day and that we coach people on. And it does help, because if we don't have a way of doing it successfully, we'll go back to what our parents did, or we'll just muddle our way through, and that usually doesn't help. Yeah.
I read it said drop the flame, wane, blame, pain, and pour on the energy. And I didn't understand the flame part. Now it makes complete sense. Anger, flames.
Yep. And the vain part is usually it's all about me. Vain, me, the mirror. It's all about me. I don't want to know what you're going through. And that's the key to unlocking the conflict. It doesn't mean you have to agree with what's happening, but put yours aside and just see where is my husband, wife coming from? What's going on for them? And as soon as you can acknowledge what's going on for them, that opens the door for them to drop their defense and try and understand what's happening. And then you're on the path to being able to resolve your conflict. You can't resolve it while you're in anger and while you don't understand what's going on. So that's the second part. Third drop is drop the blame. Stop blaming him, stop blaming you. And take responsibility, though. For your part, you were there. Mahatma Prabhu has a saying, in every disagreement, you were there. You might think it's all their fault, but you had some contribution, right? So you take responsibility for your part in the conflict and to see it through to the end, which is crucial. And so that's drop 3. Drop 4 is drop the pain, which is now you're in a place to resolve your conflict. Before you weren't. Now you can work out, how can we, because usually conflicts, I don't know if you've noticed that they come in patterns, conflict patterns, right? That same conflict will come up again and again.
Yeah.
So we've noticed that, and so now before it becomes a pattern, we go, uh-oh, that's a bit of a pattern. Maybe how can we, before it becomes a conflict. But if you've got a conflict pattern, it will come up. And then, so when you're in that nice space of having gone through the 3 drops, and you can work it out, how to work it out so it doesn't keep happening. What do we need to do? What responsibility, what arrangement can we make? And that was like we gave in the book, the map problem. This was before GPS, right? And we'd be going somewhere, my husband would hand me the map, and I was terrible at reading maps. And so I'd be going, turn left, and I'd get it or something. And then one day we had a blow up about it, and I just threw the map book away. And then we kind of had to go through those steps of calming down, seeing how it was, and he realized, yeah, you can't read maps. He kind of got it. And then we kind of came up with the third alternative, which was that I would not read the map, but we would stop whenever he needed to, and but I would not make any comments. Because if I made a comment like, "Oh yeah, I think it's left or right," that would actually disturb him more. So we didn't make a comment. Now we've got GPS. We don't need that. That's not a.
No pattern anymore.
Type it in, and boop, she can read that a lot better than me. But that just shows you how you can. And the last one, which is essential and we don't do enough of, is to pour on the energy to celebrate your success. So whenever my husband and I get through anything, we just give, you can give a hug or a fist bump, but you celebrate that, wow, we got through that and we're back to that loving place. And that will nurture your relationship and keep it healthy. So you just got a mini course on the 5 drops.
Yes, yeah. No, I love how the fact that he didn't blame you, you didn't blame yourself, right? It's like, why don't you learn how to read a map? That wasn't the thing, but
yeah. He probably did think that, but we got through that part. I'm sure he thought that, why can't this woman read a map? I've always been spatially a little bit slow like that. Yeah.
And that's another thing, right? If something were to happen or you're in a public setting, he's not bringing that up. Oh, she's spatially, I don't know, handicapped or something. Because it's like your private thing, right? So all that's being sensitive is so important, such an important key. And
yes. No, we joke about it now. We say that I've become more spatially intelligent because I have improved over the years. So we joke about it now. We can have a joke about it. Not a problem.
Very nice. Thank you so much. So your wonderful book, Sattvic Sangha, is available on Amazon. It's called Sattvic Sangha, Simple Harmony Relationships, if anyone wants to get that. Our book, A Bond of Love, too, is available again on Amazon. If people want to go check that out. I see how, all these initiatives you've done is mainly focused on devotee care, right? Helping grihasthas develop their relationship, helping grihasthas develop good relationships with their kids and bring about the next generation of devotees who are nurtured with so much love and care and understanding. So do you want to talk a little bit about that, your devotee care initiative?
Yes, that's come from, our book and everything, just trying to help devotees in every aspect of their grihastha journey. And it's applicable to everyone because bhakti is all about relationships. And it's so important to have good relationships with devotees. Anyone who's been around for a long time, they will understand this. They will understand that how important relationships are in your spiritual journey. And we've got to be so careful because devotees are very special and we can offend devotees, and that can actually have a very bad effect on our bhakti lata bij. And I think that can be a real problem in our life. But if we can learn ways to see how it is for others, to appreciate others, then that can be very beneficial for our bhakti life.
How else do you think Srila Prabhupada has engaged you in serving Krishna, serving devotees?
Well, now that I'm older and I'm not teaching as much, but now I can connect with devotees more on a personal level. I've got young devotees that I mentor. I try and help them through different things in their life. They know that we're older and that we've been through all kinds of things, and we can give them a little advice what to do and what not to do. And I see that as very valuable, connecting with devotees. And there's so many platforms now that you can connect with them on. So I think that is very important. I connect on, we have, WhatsApp groups and things like that where we just read. I'll read something with a devotee, send her my realizations. She'll read something, send me back her realizations. And we do things like that, which I think are very valuable, because when we were young, we lived in the temple. We went to the temple every day. There was a very strong program. Whereas these days, everyone's got jobs. They're at home. They may not live close to the temple. So you have to create your own atmosphere. And we do that by having our own little morning program. We live away from the temple now. And so we have our own little program, a Mangalati. We have a little class. And Urmila gave us this idea. I think it was very good. She's amazing. Is that, there's a monk kind of version of a morning program, which might be an hour and a half class and half an hour Mangalati. And Grihas just think, well, I can't do that. I haven't got that time. I've got to get to work by 8 o'clock. But you can have a mini version. So we have a little mini Mangalati. We can do longer now because we're kind of retired. But if you can't, you still can have a program. You have a little mini program. Make it adjustable to your needs. And that can be very powerful in keeping your bhakti alive and keeping your spiritual strength. Very important.
How can devotees connect with you and know, if anyone wants to be coached by you and Prabhu with regards to their relationships, their grasa lives, and so forth, how can they reach out?
Well, I'm always very happy to help people. They usually message me on devotee care or just devotees I know. But yeah, they can send me a private message on devotee care and I can give them some advice, or we can arrange for a coaching. We don't, like I said, we're not counselors, we're not qualified counselors. Probably a lot of devotees out there who are qualified to counsel. We only coach on our system. So we would be advising devotees to get the book and to read the book and to start practicing. And if they have any questions, then please message me and I'm happy to ask questions. Not when you're getting to counseling, you have to have a lot of qualifications and we've got our wisdom and we've got our system, but I wouldn't dare to think that we could help with serious problems that maybe you need a counselor for. Because there is times when you need a counselor if you have big problems. And it's always good to get devotee counselors if you can. There are them out there. I know a few, yeah. So I think that's important.
Thank you for sharing that. 50 years you and Prabhu have been, together serving the Lord. What about, and who convinced you? Srila Prabhupada, right? So what about Srila Prabhupada convinced you to dedicate your entire life to him, even now after all these years?
Well, for me, I have to be honest. And I say my husband is my rock because he has such firm faith. When I came to Krishna Consciousness, actually, I was tricked by Krishna. I had no intention of becoming a devotee. When my husband was interested in Krishna Consciousness, I was like thinking, oh, let him just go through this. This is just, he was my fiance. Yeah, this is a stage. And my friends were saying, yeah, he'll get over it. Don't worry. Don't worry. Here we are 15 years later. But so I had no intention. But the process is so strong that I went along to the temple with him. I did everything he did. I even started chanting just reluctantly. And he loved everything. He was like a natural devotee, one of those ones. And you hear that in the bond of love. People were searching. I was not searching. I was like sentimental, just wanted like I explained, life in the suburbs. And I thought I was getting all that. And then my kind of world fell out. And Krishna, I think, arranged a lot because we were actually talking about where we were going to get married, right? And I was saying, well, Catholic church, I was brought up Catholic. And my husband said, he goes, do you know where I want to get married? And I thought, because every now and again he would have these kind of crises like, what are we doing here? Why are we in this world? That I would never think of. And so I said to him, well, I don't know how I said this. I think Krishna through me said, okay, you need to go and sort this out. You have a calling, like you're a monk or something. So I said, go to the temple, sort this out, and then we'll go from there. And I'm thinking, oh, this is dangerous, a dangerous thing. But I was at that stage where I knew I needed that clarity. So off he goes to the temple, spends the whole day there, comes back, books, prashadam, and says, yeah, I'm a monk, but there's some good news. And I said, what's the good news? And he said, they said, bring you along too. Okay. So that's when I kind of thought, I'll just go along with this, fake it, and I'll go along with this. And then he'll get over it and we'll go back to our plans. But that never happened. I went along and gradually, very slowly, I became purified just by fakely following the process. And so I think that shows the power of the process. But I think the only qualification I had was that before even meeting my husband, when we very first met, our first date, we saw the devotees. And I said to him casually, like, what do you think of these guys? And he goes, oh, they are the most wonderful, amazing, their philosophies. And I'm thinking, he's a bit different. So, he had that straight away. So I'm just thinking, I'm just going to go through this and we'll get out the other end. But Krishna showed me, but the qualification I had was that I was a bit of a softie. So if devotees approached me with books, I'd buy a book. I had every book. I never read one of them, but I couldn't say no. Even when devotee said to me, I said, I've got that book. And he convinced me to buy the book. This is how good they were at distributing. To buy the book and to leave it on the tram so that someone else could get it. So I buy the book. I left it, like you said, on the seat in the tram. So I distributed a book. So I had that qualification because when I look back, I think, how did I even get here? And that's the mercy that Prabhupada gave me, I think, because I was open to that. I loved books and I used to just put them on my shelf. So I had Christian book and Srimad Bhagavatam and this book and that book, but never read. I didn't want to open them. I knew it was philosophy. Didn't want to know about that. So Prabhupada gave me that special mercy. And he's always been very gentle with me, because he knows, like we were saying about different personalities, he knows that Krishna has been very kind and gentle through Prabhupada, that I can't handle too much, but it's made me stronger over the years. So in the beginning, when anything happened, my faith would be shattered. And I go, oh, no, maybe I should be Christian. And now I don't care what happens to, in our society. My faith is firm now. I know if you follow the process that you get results. And so I've got that faith, that strong faith. And that is very satisfying for me, not to have that when I was early and my faith was very weak. To have that strong faith that I can get through, we'll get through, and to see Krishna's hand in everything, because no matter what your kids go through, and they will go through different ups and downs, or what you go through in all walks of life, then Krishna has a plan, and you can get through if you hold strong onto your faith in your bhakti.
So beautiful. Again, see how you came back to Srila Prabhupada and him being that guiding force. Do you have anything to share wherein you could, very clearly see how Srila Prabhupada protected you and other Vaishnavis?
I think just in the little things for me, I haven't gone, I don't have to actually, can't think of any examples, but just all through my life, I think Prabhupada's protecting me. He showed me through different ways, he shows, like I said, my kids are my gurus. I had to face my son at a certain stage. He left Krishna consciousness when he was about 15. He wanted freedom. And that shattered my heart as a mother, right? And I felt like, such a failure. And I was living in Vrindavan at the time. I was teaching there. He went back to the West. He wanted to investigate Maya. He said, I'm going to go out into the material world and find out about all this. So it was a tough time for me. So every day I would go before Gaunitai in Vrindavan, and I would say, "You save Jagai and Madhya. Please save my son." That was the only prayer that I could pray. And then, a couple of years later, we get a phone call. Mum, Dad, can I come back? I've just read Science of Realization, and I understand now. I understand about the material world, and I want to come back. So he comes back to Vrindavan, and he had his journey, ups and downs. Now he's initiated, chants 16 rounds. He has 2 beautiful children, lovely wife. So, it's their journey. That was my lesson in that way. Krishna showed me. And I should try as much in whatever way possible facilitate that journey at their pace, not my pace, not what I think they should do. That was a very strong lesson. And Krishna has taught me that with students, that I've had over the years. So I think knowing that everyone has their path, but just trying to help them and seeing where they're at, and not just preaching at them, but helping them where they're at in their journey has been a strong lesson for me. Yeah.
Nice. And then you were never like preachy with him, or you're not the one who sent that Science of Self-Realization book to him or anything, right?
No.
You just...
No, Krishna did all that. He went to the temple. I mean, he had a strong Krishna conscious upbringing, but also there was the fanaticism that kind of too strict, overly strict we were. And so that didn't sit well on him. And he said to me, I remember him saying, "You never gave me any choices." It was never a choice. It was do this, do this, do this. And out of love, you think you're protecting them. And in a contrast recently, my granddaughter, she's 12, she came to me and we talk a lot, and she said, Alma, she calls me Alma because her mother's German, so that's German name for God. She goes, "I just went to a party at one of my friend's house and they had Coca-Cola. And I really liked it." And I was like, oh. Now, if they had been my son 20 years before, you can't drink Coca-Cola. But I just said, "Oh, Coca-Cola, let's do a bit of research on that and find out what's in it and what it does." And we spent about an hour researching it and found out that in all these countries, Coca-Cola is cheaper than water, and people are addicted to it, and it's causing diabetes and this. And we found out that you put a coin in Coca-Cola, that coin will be cleaned, so much acid in it. So just recently we did all that, and I didn't say another word to her, but just recently I was with her and I said, "So do you drink Coca-Cola?" And she goes, "Oh no, I forgot about that." And that was it. There was no, I said, "Yeah, it was pretty heavy research on that, wasn't it?" She said, "Yeah." And that's all we discussed. So the difference in that with that generation, I wish I could have done that. I remember saying, like, my son, no chocolate. In those days, there was no chocolate, and he wanted chocolate. And we didn't do any research on it. It was just no chocolate. But it would have been a lot softer and a lot more kind of, okay, let's explore this. Let's have a look at it now. So yeah, that's the change.
Amazing. And even after the research, you didn't go in like on lecture mode and ask her, "So what did we learn from this?" No Coca-Cola. You didn't say any of that. You just left it at...
I left it with her. She's an intelligent, really intelligent girl. So I never forced her to chant with my son and my daughter. It was like, "Have you done your japa?" I never forced her to chant. And just recently, I make her bead bags, and she's got beads. But just recently, Indra Swami came to New Zealand, and she immediately had this connection with him. And she asked him, "What do I have to do to be your disciple?" Because he was also so merciful to my daughter, Saraswati. She still sees him. She hasn't, not initiation, but she sees him as a Gurudev. So my granddaughter, she really and he said, "Just take your time to start chanting. And then when you're chanting 16, you tell me, I'll initiate you." And so she's chanting 6 rounds now on her own. No
on her own.
dad. The dad you know. No mum, no grandma. I just ask her every now and then, and how's the rounds going? You finding it easy, you know? And she said, I'm turning 6. I said, I can't seem to do any more than 6. I said, just be consistent with 6. You'll get there. You know, just encouraging instead of guilting. Yeah.
So beautiful. This is such an absolute pleasure hearing from you and how you're really making it practical. All of the essence you got from Srila Prabhupada, you're sharing with the rest of us. And I love how you end the book, your excerpt in the book, how you say, Krishna consciousness gives answer to all of life's dilemmas. And I'd like to give Krishna consciousness to others, just like your guru did. So thank you so much for that and finding so many avenues for doing that through your books, through your courses, and so forth, and your teaching.
And it's good to know we don't have to be perfect, isn't it? That, I've learned my lesson. I would say all my journey has been from making mistakes, but I have got the quality of reflection, and that didn't work very well, and later I can reflect. And I think that's an important thing to learn, because sometimes we think perfectionism, and if I'm not perfect, then I've failed. I think Maya, I always tell devotees that Maya has 2 ways to get to you. She can get to you that, oh, I'm so good, I'm so wonderful, I'm right, I'm this and that, puff you up. Or she can say, you are hopeless, you might as well forget it and give up, right? And that's another way she can get to you. And in our initiation lecture, April 23rd, 1976, Prabhupada said something about Maya that I've never forgot. He said, Maya is very strong. She will test you. He said, but you call out to Krishna, oh Krishna, I surrender to you, please protect me. And he said, Krishna will protect you from Maya. So often we think we can do it ourselves, that we're strong enough, but I've always had that feeling, okay, Krishna, I'm not strong enough, but if I call out to you, if that's my desire, you will give me that strength. So that's my kind of big realization in life. You don't have to be perfect. You can make mistakes, but you can learn from them.
Thank you so much. We seek your blessings to have that strength in remembering Krishna at the right time and calling out to him. Thank you so much, Mother Vimala, for taking a time, and to all our viewers and listeners who have been listening to us from various channels like our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. And if you haven't heard the other series or haven't gotten your copy of A Bond of Love book, please go to Amazon, check it out. Please check Mother Vimala's book as well. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for what you do. Wonderful. Thank you.